Good evening, everybody. You just missed like a massive furore here. Fanny, good evening. I just ended up literally with 3 minutes before I went live. Tony Rossi, good evening. Knocking a whole green tea latte all over my desk, all over my keyboard. It was nearly a disaster, but it's all right. I quickly grabbed a towel and we're back on track. No one would ever know. Good evening, Steve. Good welcome, Megan Bradley. It's your first day on Periscope, I think it just said. It's all good, Fanny. Don't worry about it. Fanny's saying, oh, no, it's fine. Honestly, don't worry about it at all. Good evening, everybody. That's if you're watching in the UK. Good afternoon if you're watching in the States. Dylan, good evening. I can see loads of people jumping on right now. Going to give people a few minutes to join. My name is Ross. I am an actor from the UK, and I scope twice a week. On a Monday night, which is tonight, we do something called Motivation and Mind Hacks, which is just that, more motivation for your career and mind hacks for your life. I say, it's to do with the acting industry tonight, but you know what? Everything we talk about on all of these scopes applies to everybody. Thank you for retweeting this, Steve. Massively appreciate it. Anyone who would want to share this right now to your followers on Twitter or Facebook, get it shared out, particularly if you've got actors in your following, in your friends, in your tribe. But like I say, what we're talking about tonight does apply to all areas of your life. It's not just about the acting industry, I promise you. If you can apply what we're going to talk about to all areas of your life. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Megan, for sharing. You're going to have a more successful, really will, it's genuinely massively much more successful life if you start kind of implementing some of the things I want to talk about tonight. And this topic, it really started because towards the end of last year, remember I did a Periscope, guys, on waiting, and I said there was a couple of things in my life that I waited on last year in 2016 that then became, good evening, Scott, that then became real missed opportunities. And some of those were in my acting career, some of them were in my personal life. And I said 2017 is going to be the year where I just don't wait anymore. If there's a couple of things that I really, really want, I'm not going to just take it for granted that I've got all the time in the world to get them. Because one day, like I realised last year, you wake up and you realise you no longer have all the time in the world to get that thing that you wanted. And one of the reasons why we don't get what we want, and you won't tell us what they were, you could, I'll leave it to your imagination, Fanny. I'll go into it at some point. This is, it'd take a long time to go into a few of those things, probably like 3 years, to be honest. But yeah, one of the reasons so many of us don't get what we want out of our lives is because we're literally, to put it bluntly, we're just too shit scared to ask for it, okay? So tonight, I've got a presentation for you, and I want to know, what are you too afraid of asking the acting industry for right now, okay? And like I say, you can apply this to anything. If you're not an actor, stay on the scope, all right? If you're watching this on the replay and you've stumbled across it on YouTube, don't turn off just because it's got acting in the title here, all right? This does apply to anything in your life, and you can put it into your personal life, your relationships, your physicality, your health, your career, if you're an actor or not. All kinds of things. Good evening, Simon Hipster. He's here as well. You can put this into all kind of areas of your life, okay? And the reason this is relevant for me this week is because forever and a day, I really love presenting, guys. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now on this scope if I didn't enjoy presenting. And I'd never pursued presenting professionally because of a load of limiting beliefs in my head. And I'm the guy who's telling everybody not to have limiting beliefs, and I coach people on how to get over limiting beliefs, and I've dealt with a shitload of them myself in my own career. There's still a couple that haunt me like regular, and one of those, for people who know me well, will know the eye condition that I've got. It's still, to this day, if I'm not careful, going to hold me back. And the reason I never really pursued presenting was because my eyes aren't particularly great, guys. I've got a degenerative eye condition, and I always had hang-ups about reading auto cue. Genuinely, I was like, you know what, if I'm in charge of the auto cue and I'm in my office at home and I can position it where I want, it's fine, I'll read auto cue. If I have to get out of my comfort zone and go on a studio set where there's auto cue and I'm like, guys, I can't read that, I didn't want to be in that situation, to be honest. And it wasn't until the end of last year when, you know what, I've never pursued presenting for a very stupid, very self-indulgent reason. And I was never asking the industry to be a presenter. I was never asking anybody, really, like, on a major level. I would do corporate videos and that kind of thing, but not mainstream TV. I never asked anybody how you got into presenting, if there's anything that I could do. And I never got anywhere in it, obviously, because I wasn't asking the right questions, because I was too afraid of asking that question. The very start of January, I asked that question. okay, and now have a meeting with the BBC this Thursday, right? Had I not asked that question, I wouldn't have got that answer, which is, yeah, come and have a chat. No one's promised me anything. I don't expect I'm going to land a show or anything like that. But had I not asked, I wouldn't have got even, a half an hour cup of coffee in Media City with someone from the BBC who can help me, all right? So I want to ask you guys tonight, what is it that you are too afraid of asking the acting industry for right now? Because I promise you, you are in some area, I promise you're shitting yourself right now. I just reheard the quote what was that, Tony? Tony's mentioning a quote. I think this all the time about singing. I'm too afraid and feel ridiculous to entertain the idea. Well played, Ross, says Steve. Fanny, you've got an awesome voice. Any price we ask of life, we would have willingly paid. Exactly, Tony. How many times have I said that? What are you asking life for? Because you're getting whatever you're asking for, and life will pay any price you ask of it. But what are you asking for? Okay, and I still have to remind myself of that daily. What am I really asking life for? Fanny, you've got a great voice. You put up a song, Say Something, in the Facebook group, Act on This Facebook group. If you're not a member of that, guys, facebook.com/groups/Act on This TV. You've got a great voice. Fanny says, I've trained as an actor and feel people will laugh at the change. You can do both. Who says you've got to define yourself as one or the other, Fanny? How many people act and sing and are great at both? And before we begin, you've already done this, guys, but please share this out before we start, because it's going to help people. Like I say, even if you're not an actor, this is going to help people just to start asking questions in their life. Because we're all ruled by fear. False evidence appearing real. And to share, all you've got to do is tap the three dots at the bottom of your screen, guys, and then it'll come up and you can share it on Facebook or Twitter or wherever you like. It said there's 2 in Corrie, I believe, that act and sing. Yeah, Kath Tilsley in Corrie is a phenomenal singer. She's fantastic, great actress as well. I've inquired to see if she'll do an Acts on This TV interview with us. I've got some great guests coming up, guys. I'll tell you at the end. It's not, don't want to go off track, but I've got some great guests coming up on Acts on This TV. This is my limiting belief. You can't act and sing. Well, that's just bullshit, Fanny. You can do whatever you want. Trust me. You can act and present. You can act and sing. You can act, sing, and present and dance and property develop and, do whatever you want on the side. You can have as many hustles as you like. Thank you for sharing. So, guys, I want to go over tonight why 5 points I've come up with on why you really need to ask these burning questions today, all right? Because you really need to ask these. I'm going to just come back on camera for a sec before we start. You've got to ask. There is something, and maybe share it with us now if you want, in your head right now that you haven't asked. You can certainly act. Haven't heard you sing, says Steve, but you can certainly act, Fanny. You definitely can, and you can sing as well. So why not do both? Life is, it's very, very short. You might as well not just define yourself by one thing in your life. But I just know from personal experience that at any one time there is a difficult question in your head right now that you're not asking. And it might not even be in your acting career. You know what? It might be in a relationship. It might be like, you know what? I've got to have a chat with that boy or girl because I've got a difficult question to ask. You're going to soar once you stop letting the thoughts of others affect your actions, says Tony. Yeah, absolutely. It is really that we hypothesize of what we think, not actors, but other people we talk to or ask things for are going to say to us. We hypothesize this this really negative outcome that's so much worse in our head than it will ever be in reality. It really will. So I want to give you these 5 points tonight, guys, of why I believe you need to start asking those questions, or that question today. And there will be another question once you've asked this one. There's going to be another one that pops up next week, and there'll be another one that pops up the week after. But every time you ask a question that's difficult, you'll get better at asking them next time. That's what I'm finding out all throughout my life. I used to be shit scared to ask people to do interviews with me. Now, I'd approach Idris Elba or anybody on the street if I saw them to go, mate, come and do a podcast with me, because I feel I've got a track record now. The more you ask, the better you get at it, because the more experience you get of it. So number one, guys, right? And this is just like so obvious, isn't it? But it's so true. And it's the basis of like so much action that I take. Tomorrow isn't promised. Like seriously, right? It's really not. This is the stats. 151,600 people died today. They are dying at a rate of knots every single minute, all right? That's just the stark reality of life. You have the opportunity to ask that burning question inside of you today, right? And you might not have that chance to do it tomorrow. if your question involves another person particularly, then something could even happen to them, all right? And I'm not saying they're going to die necessarily, but they could have an accident that puts them out of work. They could emigrate, move country. Friends of mine have moved country last year, back in the UK like once, twice a year. They might employ someone else if it's a job you want to go for and you're too afraid to ask for that opportunity. They might retire and then you're like, you know what, they were my key contact at that company and I never maximised on my relationship with that contact whilst they were there. Now they have left. That's happened a couple of times with me. I've known people in very high places, exec producers at various production companies. I've not capitalised on that relationship enough and then they've left and they've gone and done something completely unrelated. So they could have maybe given me a peg up in that company. They're no longer there now. So think about that, okay? And the only chance that you really get to ask someone that burning question is right now, okay? When you take this perspective, you're going to find that your sense of urgency will increase and you'll take action more often when it comes to these difficult questions, all right? And even if the answer to your question is not the one you seek, at least you know the answer and you can go and ask other sources, all right? But if you don't ask, that's the thing that's going to eat you up because you're never going to know. Which leads on to point 2, okay? Your fear is never going to go away. And this is another thing that I realized. I was like, you know what? Until I ask this question, I'm going to be in this boat the rest of my life. And regardless of how evolved your mindset is, I think my mindset is vastly evolved. But I've been studying positive psychology and science, the science of success and psychology for nearly a decade. Okay, but I'm human and fear will always play its part in my life. Fear is always going to play a part in your life and your career as well. And it's actually healthy. When you're feeling fear and you're feeling afraid, you're actually pushing yourself and you're in the right territory. If you wake up every day and you're afraid of nothing, then I'd say you're probably living a pretty limited life. You're not going to wake up one day. This is the crucial parts of this. You're not going to wake up one day and find that it's suddenly a perfect day to ask your burning question, all right? You're going to be fearful about asking your burning question for as long as you don't ask it. Scott says, only those who don't succeed are those who give up trying. Yeah, great little quote. But, it's time to build that 5 seconds of courage that's required to ask your question and simply go for it. And this is what I've realized in my life as well. Courage is a major part of confidence. It's the first building block of confidence, actually. It goes courage, commitment, capability, and that equals confidence, guys. But courage is the first building block. Now, in life, you never need more than 5 seconds of courage to do that thing, take that leap. It might be jumping out of a plane. It might be asking that girl out. It might be stopping somebody in the street to ask them out or, whatever it is. It could be 5 seconds whilst the phone is ringing and before someone's picked it up. You are going to have that fear for that 5 seconds, but the minute they pick it up and you go, oh, hi, yeah, you've done enough. You've committed then. You're through the courage part of the equation and you're into the commitment part. It's only ever 5 seconds that we need, okay? And your fear is not going to go away until you utilize that 5 seconds and ask your question. And trust me, right? Like I said before, that disastrous outcome that you've already made up in your head is not ever... it's not going to ever be your reality. It's bullshit. My experience is that taking that leap... I missed your comment, Fanny. Write it again. Your experience of taking that leap is what? Let me know. But yeah, I do a lot of the Bulletproof Actor training that I do. If you're an actor and you want to really develop your mindset, go to bulletproofactor.com and get on the waiting list. But a lot of the training that I give... is on confidence, and those those people here tonight who are live on here, who have been through that program, you'll know that to build that confidence, it is just those 3 building blocks: courage, commitment, capability, and that courage is vital. You'll never get the commitment or the capability to build the confidence until you go through with the courage, and you only ever need that 5 seconds of it. So is that it can tend to lend itself to bad outcomes that I've approached the wrong way. What have you approached the wrong way? The leap, in terms of actually taking the courage to do it, and who's saying you've done it the wrong way, Fanny? Is that just you judging yourself, or is that someone else actually said, "Oh, you should have done it a different way"? Let me know. Let's jump back into the slides, guys. So that's number 2. Okay, your fear's not going to go away. Ultimately, your fear's not going to go away ever. And number 1 was that tomorrow isn't promised. Okay. Point number 3 that I think is really, really important, and give me some hearts if you think these are that you resonate with these. Fanny says, because it's led to bad things or feelings from others. Yeah, but it depends on what if I ask for something and somebody gives me a negative reply or a negative response, but I know I've asked in good faith and I've asked from a good place and I've just wanted to make positive impacts, and I've not asked something that is ridiculous. I don't care what their response is. If their response is a no, and you're going to see in my point number 5 here how I respond to that, and that's thanks very much. Conversation closed. Let's move on to the next person. If you're feeling bad about it, it's that old Eleanor Roosevelt quote, Fanny, that nobody, can make you feel bad unless you give them permission to. So that's you doing that to yourself. I think you care far too much about what other people think of you. And you need to not worry about that as much. Point number 3, ask and you will grow. Fanny's thinking maybe about her approach. We can talk about approaches to asking for things in the end, Fanny. We can go over that. But yeah, as human beings, guys, we feel most alive. I talk about this in Bulletproof Actor a lot as well. We feel most alive when we are growing in all areas or any areas of our life, right? And if you are not growing, I say this all the time, you are dying, right? Everything in life is either growing or dying. It's never standing still. So if a plant isn't growing, it is dying, okay? If your health isn't growing, it is dying. If your bank account isn't growing, it is dying, okay? And that just goes across the board. People say I'm stagnating. I'm like, you're not stagnating, you're dying. You can't stay treading water or, consistent for too long. You're either growing or you are dying, right? And asking this one difficult question that's in your head is going to help you grow way more than you realize, all right? And once you get it out, it's going to make future questions so much easier to ask, all right? And you heard me, this is only one of many difficult questions, right, that are going to pop up in your life, okay? When you get this one out of the way, there's going to be another one waiting for you right around the corner. There really is. I've got this presenting one out of the way, okay? There'll be more in there was one in my personal life very recently. There was a difficult question, and it's so awkward until that question's asked, and then it's asked, and it's like, wow, this is brilliant. Why didn't we speak about this like way before? Okay, just makes life and everything else so much easier when you gain clarity by asking questions. So there's going to be another one around the corner for you, and every time you face these tough questions, you're going to build mental muscle, right? It's like exercising your body in the gym. You're exercising this muscle inside you that every time you want to ask a question goes, oh no, don't, you're going to get hurt. The more you exercise that, the more it shuts up and it stops whispering that to you. Okay, and this allows you to ask even tougher questions down the line. And this is the best part of it. It's what I love, right? When you get this down, like in your head, and you come to terms with this, you're going to begin to ask questions that your competition, actors, other people in your field, whatever you do, may even feel that you're not even entitled to ask yet. And I say, screw those people. Particularly, Fanny, if you're worried about what people are thinking of you. So many people. I've seen people who I feel have less talent and are less, able than me or my peers go way further much faster because they've been better at this. They've been better at asking for what they want. And every time then me or my friends in the past have gone, oh my God, how have they got there? That's just pure envy that's showing up. And I think envy is like a really good emotion as well, guys. It's not a negative emotion. It's a compass to show you, point you in the direction of where you want to go. If you're envious of somebody, it means you want what they have. Thus, that's the thing you want to go and get. But there's been a few times in my life where I've seen somebody get what I wanted to get, and I've gone, how have they got that? Because they're so not as good. I'm more accomplished. I could probably do that better. And the simple thing is they've asked. They asked life for it, and then thus they deserve it. Stupid me, has just sat here expecting it to come to me. I worry because it's people that get where you want where we want as such, isn't it? What you're worried about? What you're worried about? What, Fanny? People upsetting people because you think it's people who can give you what you want. So you feel that if you ask for what you want, you're going to upset them. Because you're not. Otherwise, how are you ever? They're not going to give it to you without you asking these questions. How are you ever going to get anything if you sit there and expect people to read your mind because you're too afraid to ask for what you want? I think, that's like it's just a key part in all of our lives. But the running theme for you a lot, I see in the Facebook group or here, is that, you give other people permission to let you feel certain ways. Because people will say, what right have you have to ask? This is what I mean, though. Fuck them. Screw all this bullshit. Because Fanny, you've got to realise, right, what slide number 1, you're just going to die. You're going to die having never achieved anything. People would admire you more for asking the questions, Scott says. They would. You've got a choice. You really have a choice, right? I could shake you sometimes. Because you have a choice right now. Because else you make enemies. You don't make enemies. And who cares? You know what? I love it. I love it when I'm the underdog, or I don't make enemies because I don't see anyone as my enemy. But I love it when people say, no, you can't do that. Because I'm like, right, the best motivational speeches anyone's ever given me are where people tell me that I can't do something. Because I'm like, brilliant, because you've now just locked that into my mindset that I am going to do it. And I will see you in 2018. I'll see you in 2020, 2025, however long it takes. I will see you. And you'll be like, man, like, why didn't I give this guy an opportunity? Because I'll get it anyway, you know, with or without people's permission. But yeah, ultimately, you've got this choice now, Fanny. Like I said, slide number 1, tomorrow's not a given. I would be proper pissed off with you if you went the next 2-3 years without asking for what you want, and then something happens to you, and I'm like, that girl never asked for what she wanted. Tony says, if they really get... Oh, I missed it, Tony. Hopefully people read Tony's response. Tony's a good guy. He's got his head screwed on, Fanny. Read what Tony's saying as well. But yeah, if you just go through your life constantly second-guessing what people are thinking, or thinking, oh, I used to do this, you know. I used to do this so much when I left drama school with agents and casting directors, thinking, it's better for me to say nothing than say the wrong thing and then ruin my relationship with a casting director because they might think I'm stupid or whatever. I soon realised that without saying anything, they're never going to know of me anyway. They're never going to give me a job, and I have nothing to lose. All right, which is going to be my point in slide number 5. I'm going to give you that in a slightly more sort of nicer way, poetic way. But ultimately, yeah, point number 3, ask and you're going to grow. The more you can ask these questions, guys, the more you're going to grow. I want you all to write in the Facebook group after this as well what question you're going to ask of somebody this week as well. Because there's something in all of your heads right now that you've been holding back on maybe for 6 months, a year, 2 years. I've been holding back on the presenting question professionally. Nina, good evening, for like 15 years. And I'm like, why did you do that? You know, now I've asked just one simple question. I've got a decent answer, and, you know, I'll just see what happens from there. Point number 4, right? These tough questions, guys, are the questions that can really change your life. Because they're so tough, they're big questions, you know, with potentially big outcomes, all right? Look at the life of somebody that you admire. Give me some names of people you admire in your life, in the acting industry or outside of it, all right? You're going to notice that the road to their success had many, many crossroads in it. And you're going to hear of, you know, super famous businessmen going bankrupt not once, but twice, 3 times. Suddenly they make it into millionaire status again. Fanny says me. Thanks, Fanny. Well, I'll tell you what, my life has had a shitload of crossroads in it. Absolutely loads. Loads and loads and loads and loads and loads, all right? And at the centre of these crossroads is usually a tough question, okay? And this tough question typically leads to a difficult decision. Once you've asked that question, sometimes there are decisions to be made as well. Okay, the journey to greatness, though, and everyone that I see who I feel is great, is full of tough questions, and the people who ask them are the ones that change the path of their life for the better. All right, I've had many times where I've been faced with the same challenge. All right, and when I've embraced the difficult task of asking the tough question, I've always been surprised by the result. Okay, and I'm asking tough questions as often as I can right now. It's something I committed to. It's one of my goals for 2017. And I still, because I'm human, guys, I still have the fear. Trust me, no matter how many of these scopes I do or how many courses I do or anything like that, I have the fear, just like everybody else, just like Idris Elba has it, just like Eddie Redmayne has it, just like everybody has it, because it's something that's always going to be in your life. But you've got to ask these tough questions in order to break through effectively. So these are the questions that really will change your life. What did you ask to whom? Not name, but position. Was it a cold question, or did you know them? Who are you talking to, Simon? Do you mean me? I mentioned it at the start, mate. So one thing that, if you're talking about me, the tough question that I asked at the start of January was, I said I'd always wanted to present professionally on TV, on a major network. And because of the eye condition I've got, it's still the only limiting belief really in my life, right? That if I'm not on top of all the time, it creeps in like without permission. And what happened was, I was like, right, I I'm sick of holding back on this because I think I'm pretty good at presenting and I love it and I enjoy being myself as well as acting is fantastic, but I also enjoy, being me in the world. And I had held back from presenting for so long because my eyes aren't particularly good with their acuity and I can't read auto cue if it's more than a few feet away. And that for me brought up a load of insecurities earlier in my life. I would only use auto cue if it was my own auto cue in my office at home. And Tony said, I wonder if your eye condition will lead to something awesome for you, Ross. I hope so, Tony. Honestly, you've got to look at it as a gift, otherwise it rules your life. So I do look at it as a gift every day. It spurs me on to do things today whilst I can. So because of the hang up on what I could see, I was like, I don't want to put myself in that situation, so I'm probably not going to bother. And then I just thought at the end of last year, when I'd missed out on a couple of opportunities because I'd waited, and I did that scope on waiting, saying don't wait for things because those opportunities can go and they can go forever. I thought, no, sod it, I'm going to make some inquiries to see what I can present. So I did. I emailed, what's he saying here? What are you going to ask them? So I basically emailed the head of factual at the BBC and looked her up on Twitter and LinkedIn and places like that and went, right, okay, I've actually got quite a body of work presenting. I do a lot of corporate videos as well, no auto cue required. I do my own interviews for Acts on this. I do these scopes. I'm like, look, I think, I've got a talent for this. I'd love to explore it. I don't expect you to just give me a show because I don't think that's probably how it works. As I don't think you can ring a casting director up necessarily and just go, give me a part. You're going to need a bit of a track record and some experience. I was like, look, can I just have a meeting to just get some advice? And then it turns out a friend of mine knows this lady as well. And she was going to meet the friend of mine in Manchester, very cool, at a point this week for a very cool little comedy kind of afternoon, I think. There's like a comedy showcase on. And she went, look, I'm going to be here. Do you want to come along and we can have a chat? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So it was initially, so Simon says, was it cold or not? So initially it was. And then we found out we had common ground. And then I utilised that contact that I had to warm the situation up. Either way, I was determined to make it work, and you would see by the wording of my goal that I set for that was, with or without help, I was gonna make that happen. Absolutely determined to make that happen, just to explore it, And then since then, I was doing an animation last week, and in the studio where I was doing the animation was a documentary department of this production company, and because I'd already asked this tough question, I was like, right, I'm going to pitch a documentary to this guy right now whilst he's making a coffee in this studio that I'm in. And I just had to come up with it on the spot, going, look, I want to get into presenting. I've got an idea for this documentary. What do you think about this? And then from there, I got an email address of their kind of head of development to go come in and have a coffee with her. It was another tough question, but I asked it, and the more tough questions you ask, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen this year, but I want a documentary by the end of it. And just say action gets results, says Simon. Yeah, it is all about taking action and asking those questions because they couldn't read my mind. I'm sat on a couch waiting to go into my voiceover session. The receptionist introduces me to this guy who's currently doing a documentary with John Thompson at this studio. And I'm like, right, I've got one opportunity right now to ask this question. This guy could leave and I'll never see him again. I'm going to ask it. So the other moral is we need to drink more coffee, says Tony. Exactly. Precisely. And number 5, guys, I mean, this is so powerful, and I just think this all the time now. You have nothing to lose. You really don't. Your ego's getting in the way when you worry about what people think of you, Fanny. You've got literally fuck all. None of us have anything to lose. You just don't, right? If it all blows up in your face and ends in tears, it doesn't matter. Nobody's going to remember in 3 weeks' time. No one gives a shit that much. No one cares that much about me or that much about you. That if we do have a situation that blows up, they're then going to be thinking about it 3 weeks later. They're too preoccupied with themselves and in their own little world, right? None of us have permanent memories. The worst things in my life that have happened to me, really bad things, losing family members, really bad breakups in relationships that cripple me at the time. And I mean, I can't get them out of my head. Absolutely cripple me. They're the first thing I think about in the morning and the last thing I think about before I go to bed. They're not permanent memories. 12 months down the line, 2 years down the line, whatever. None of us have permanent memories that occupy our thoughts 100% of the time. Tony said, this is so true. I think that everything will be ruined if I fail sometimes. It won't, Tony. I just can't believe that people just... Oh, I missed your comment again, Fanny. These comments are fading out fast on my phone tonight. Write it again if you've got a sec. But yeah, they won't, even if you have a really bad time, it's not going to, this too will pass. Someone gave me a card, when I lost my dad, saying, look, this too will pass. It's going to get easier. And it just does, as tragic as those events are at the time, life just goes on. And that thought will not live in your head 100% of the time. It might do for a few months, but it will fade. You literally have nothing to lose, right? And the answer might not be what you hope for. It could be the opposite of what you hope for, but the answer could also be everything you hope for and more. I said I just can't believe the notion as people still hold things against me from years ago. Yeah, but they're shit people, Fanny. They're probably toxic people stuck in sad little lives doing nothing. Tony said, I think these people are holding you back from succeeding, my friend. Why do you care about what they think now if it was years ago? Let them live in the past. You have, the responsibility to live in the present. Yes, but maybe they are all I had. Well, seek out more people. Look at this, what I'm just saying now. If you don't get the answer you want, there are thankfully a few billion other people that you can interact with. Think of it like this, Fanny. 1 down and 7.5 billion to go. Steve said they can't have much of a life themselves if they're obsessed with yours. That's very true. But think of that. It's powerful, man. 1 down, 7.5 billion people to go. And at the end of it, all those people worried about you are going to die, you're going to die, no one gives a shit. Done, 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 done. You can either go to your grave having not committed to doing the things you want to do in your life, or you can go to your grave having let those people rule you. I'd rather be happy and alone than angry and sad with idiots, says Scott. Look at what you have. There are more who are starting with less. Fanny says, yes, but that's a bit blue sky. People don't work like that, really. Who doesn't work like that? Elaborate on your point. Who doesn't work like that? You or those? Are you choosing not to work like that? Are you choosing not to go, right, okay, well, I'm gonna move away from these toxic people, or I'm just gonna seek out some people who are gonna charge me. If I have to keep these toxic people in my life, if they're family or whatever, and you can't, distance yourself, which is sometimes the reality. Then at least seek out people who are charging you when you're not with those people. Because there are 7.5 billion people out there. You're never alone. This is the thing, guys. People think that you can feel so alone. You're just not ever alone if you can get up, go out, and actually say hello to somebody. Go to events, meet people, become parts of groups. You're going to find some great friends who'll be lifelong friends. Control what you can and let others do what they do, says Sai. Absolutely. I want to end on this quote, guys. I love it. Voltaire. It's a bit of a classic quote, this. Steve says, I left a group of friends about 3 or 4 years ago. Best thing I did. Found people growing up on my level. Judge a man by his questions rather than by his answers. I think that one of the greatest ways to enrich your life is to ask quality questions. And if the question you are asking of yourself every day is, why are you not good enough? Why do you not look good enough? Why do you always fail? Why are you a bad person? Or whatever it is you're asking. It's a shit quality question. The question you need to ask yourself in the morning is, how can I make a positive impact on the world today? What's the one thing I could do today that's going to help me get closer to my goals and fulfill my mission? How can I help the people I love today? How can I have fun today? What could I do that's going to make me smile today? Quality fucking questions. There's all this bullshit. Why am I so terrible? When will I ever get a job? Why does nothing go right for me? It's just killing you. So judge a man by his questions rather than by his answers. So to recap, guys, 5-1. 5. These are the reasons you've got to start asking your big questions today. If you're in the UK, you might not have time because people are probably in bed in a minute, but at least ask them in the morning, right? 5, if you don't ask your difficult question that's in your head right now, you genuinely have nothing to lose, so you're just mugging yourself off. There's just no point not asking it. Point 4, these tough questions change your life. These are the game changers. These tough questions are the questions that really will alter your life. 3, ask and you're going to grow. It's going to get easier every time you ask one of these tough questions. Fanny says, I guess it seems a little indulgent to ask these questions, but I know it's imperative. It's not indulgent at all. If you feel having a nice life and enjoying your existence is indulgent, then we've got a different outlook on what's indulgent. I would say indulgent is sitting at home, moaning, depressed, and saying, why me, why me, why me? Why does life have to be so cruel to me? All this bullshit. Because you know what? Everybody, like everyone says, you see those quotes all the time. Everyone's fighting a battle you know nothing about. I know there's people on the scope fighting battles that I know nothing about. I equally am fighting battles nobody knows anything about, although generally talk about them on these scopes, to be honest. So you probably do know most of my battles. But the thing is, we all have them. We all have them. And, big fucking massive battles in our heads. Everybody on here is dealing with something. People in their lives ill, themselves ill, money struggles, relationship struggles. Everyone's got their thing. I use a mindset journal each morning. I answer what I love about myself and I'm proud of, says Tony. Awesome. That's the issue, says Fanny. I feel it's unimportant and indulgent to be happy. Well, you're missing out on the only thing that's important in life. You have every right to be happy, guys. It's bonkers. You absolutely deserve it. That's one of the 4 pillars of self-limiting, is feeling guilty for being happy, and thinking you don't deserve it. You will always upper limit yourself if you feel that way. Point number 2, your fear is never going to go away. There's no point in waiting to ask that question because you're always going to be fearful of it regardless. And point number 1, tomorrow isn't promised. Seriously, it's really not promised. Look at that stat, 151,600 people die every single day. I didn't want to work it out on an hourly basis. Oh, this camera's gone a bit orange, hasn't it? That's the white balance when I have that light on. Let's just go back to... There you go. Let's go back to normal. That's like instant tan, isn't it? You go, oh, look, Pasty Ross. LA Ross. That's a little bit crazy. Can move that desk lamp away. It's a bit mental. So Simon says, have you been to the tanning booth? Like an instant tanning booth, that, isn't it? Oosh. There you go. Boom. Oh, blinded. I don't like not seeing you for too long. Too techie, says Fanny. Yeah, I'll move the slides down now. We'll just have a little bit of camera time for a bit. Austin Self-Tapes, good evening. So let us know, guys, what is your... you don't have to say it, actually, if it's personal or whatever, but what is the one thing that you are not asking the acting industry for right now, or life for? What are you holding back on? What are you fearful of in case you get the answer that you are predicting is going to ruin your life, which is bullshit and it never will. It's just not going to happen. Things will never be as bad as you are imagining them in your head, even if you get the answer that you don't want. When you ask that tough question, if you don't know exactly what it is, if you don't want to say what it is, at least give me some yeses or some hearts if you've got it in your head and you're like, actually, I resonate with this and I know I'm not asking for something. I'm not asking anyone to take note of me, to take a chance on me. Well, you need to start doing that, Fanny, otherwise no one's going to. Steve's not asking for representation. He's finding it difficult. And is this because you feel like imposters and you're like, actually, I feel like I'm not ready to ask for this? Why would anybody give it me? Because we all have that in life. Imposter syndrome is a real psychological, phenomenon where you're going into something that you have no track record of or you have limited experience of. Everybody gets it. Steve says, yeah. Fanny says, Tony says, you asked me to coach you. No one asked me that before. There you go. Boom. Fanny says, yeah, that they will laugh at you. Let them. And they won't anyway. And what's that going to do? If somebody actually goes, I don't honestly believe that you're bothered about people laughing at you anyway, because you post things in the Facebook group that other people would never dare to post. You do improvisations on camera, you post songs. So I think you're telling me all this stuff. I think and we've said this before, you're addicted to the struggle. It's so part of your life. You don't want to give it up, Fanny. She doesn't want people to think she's a joke. I always get rejected from jobs for lack of experience. How do you get experience if you don't get a chance? You've got to convince people that you bring value to the table, and sometimes, give them the hard sell, Scott. I've had to do that so many times in my life where I'm like, right, I've got to make this connection and then I've got to nurture it. So I've got to make a connection with someone I want to work with, whether it's a mentor, and I'm going to go, look, what value can I bring to your life? Sometimes for free. I'm prepared to come and shadow you. I did this in casting when I first started off. I'm prepared to come in and shadow you. I'll even make you a website because I've got a skill set with web development. I'll create you a site that's going to help your brand, going to help you get further. I just want you to mentor me in a couple of areas. And you've got to do a trade-off. If you can't afford to pay somebody, you've got to go, what skill set do I have that I can, bring to the table? And when you add value to somebody's life, and it might mean that you do something away from the table without them even knowing, and you bring it to them. So say, for instance, I don't know, I saw someone the other day who really wanted to be mentored by a social media expert. And he knew this social media expert published a lot of video on YouTube. Now, without the social media expert knowing, he took a lot of the videos, the best parts of this guy's training online, created like a mashup, motivational social media, like 5-minute video with music and text and all this kind of stuff. And then it must have took him hours. And then he basically sent this guy and went, I've done this for you. I think it's going to be great content for your YouTube channel. This guy was blown away by it. He went, wow, this is so cool. I want you to, if you want, how can I give you value back? I want you to come and shadow me or do whatever. That's the sort of shit you've got to do. Just applying for stuff the regular route, you and the other 10,000 people, sometimes you ain't going to stand out unless you do something, that's going to make you stand out, just going the same route. That's why a lot of actors who just go down the get an agent and click on spotlight route never get any more than, 2 or 3 auditions a year, because they're not making the connections and bringing value to the people who can actually give them more than that. That's what I absolutely, try and do. Doesn't always work, but if you can be creative, be inventive, and develop other skills that you've got that you can then make someone else's life easier. If it's a filmmaker and you're like, you know what? I know you're not going to give me a part in this film you're doing right now, but I've got some lights. How about I come bring the lights to the set? You can use those, and I stand with this reflector. I make cups of tea. I prepare hot water bottles if we're filming on location and it's really cold. Anything like that. If you add value, people want you in their life. You don't need to start asking for things when you're adding value. People will give you them for free. You don't need to add any more than your presence and some value. And people want to be around you. That's like critical. So Fanny, quit this addiction to this struggle. I don't think you're that minded about what people think, because you do post stuff that other people wouldn't dare post. So do that in the real world as well, instead of just on the Facebook page. I think you'll probably, you'll get much further. Anybody else got any fears? Steve says your material is brilliant. Whose material, Steve? Mine or someone else's? But thanks if you're talking about mine. Love it. Anyone else got anything else they're thinking? Right, Fanny's. Yeah, no, she's good. Her impro stuff is great. This is great. I'm about to meet a casting director at my favourite theatre company. I want to offer help. Yeah, do it, Tony. That's the characters who are confident, not me, says Fanny. Well, walk around as a character for a bit in the real world, Fanny. Do a bit of, character method acting. Go out in the real world as one of your characters, see what it does for you. But yeah, just those characters are still you. You can't use anything else bar you to create those characters, so they are still you. I spent my whole life doing that, says Fanny. Steve says send emails. Simon says send emails to CDs and agents. Start sending them, Si. If you're scared, what have you got to lose? Because you've got nothing on the table if you're not making contact with them anyway. They're not going to come to you. They might not have a clue who you are, never heard of you, thus they're never going to give you an opportunity because they don't know you even exist. I met Corey's casting director and meeting Emmerdale's casting director in February. Awesome. Yeah, it's Face Styring for Emmerdale, Steve. She's lovely, really, really great. I know she's doing a workshop with, is it called Inspired Actors? I think it's Miles Keogh's company that she's doing that with. I saw the other day. But yeah, you've got to just reach out to these people and ask questions. Yeah, that's it, says Steve. Awesome, man. Let us know how that goes. Because I thought Miles did something with Jamie Lomas, but do they not do their acting classes anymore together? I thought they had, I can't remember what it was called. They did an acting class together, didn't they? And then I don't know if Miles has set a new one up at the old Granada Studios. For those who are in the north of England, check it out. Might be pretty cool. Steve can keep an eye on it for us. So that's it for this week, guys. This week's Monday Motivation and Mind Hacks. I'm going to be back on Wednesday. This is a book that you're going to need, Fanny, definitely, if you're worried about what people think of you from stuff in the past. I think Jamie has his own school now. All right, maybe they've got their own. They've set their own up. We're doing this book. Big shout out to a friend of mine, Just Jennifer, TV is her website. She's a makeup artist in the TV industry and fashion as well. The Present. Remember we read the book, Who Moved My Cheese? I'd like to ask the Act on This community to pay for my airfare to the UK. Well, keep asking, Tony. You might get it, mate. You never know. You should definitely come over to the UK at some point, though. That would be awesome. Anthony Mindell's coming over from LA, the acting coach. Next week, I'm going to go down to London and meet him for a face-to-face podcast for the first time. But yeah, book club. We're going to do The Present. Spencer Johnson. We read the book Who Moved My Cheese. Same guy. Super awesome book. Dead simple. That's why I loved Who Moved My Cheese. Super simple. It says the present is the best gift you can receive because it makes you happy and successful, whether it means having peace of mind and feeling more alive, or being more productive and more prosperous, or finding whatever is important to you and those you work and live with. Steve wants Danny Dyer. Yeah, I could get Danny Dyer on for a podcast, no doubt, I'm sure. All right, yeah, talk a bit like that. No, I can't do it. But yeah, we're going to be back on Wednesday for that. It's only a short book again, so we'll probably finish this in a couple of weeks. But I thought we're going to read it because I enjoyed Who Moved My Cheese so much. If you've not read that book or you want to know more about it, go to actsonthis.tv, search for just cheese in the search bar, and it'll bring up the 4 periscopes. It might have been 3 or 4 periscopes that we did on that for the book club. Awesome book, though. I would recommend everybody buy it. Very, very simple, short. You can read it in an hour and a half, something like that. So has it been useful, guys? Are you going to quit? Like, I'm going to remind myself of this so often this year. Are you going to quit allowing fear to rule you and stop you from asking those questions? Fanny wants to know if the ebook's coming out. Yeah, I'm going to... so I asked people to write letters to their 16-year-old self last year. Still on the radar, Fanny. I've been so swept up with loads of work for January, website and not website, that it's definitely on the radar. It will happen this year at some point. I just can't give you a date yet. Sooner rather than later, though, I will publish that. That's going to be free for everybody. It's going to be inspiration. It was advice to their 16-year-old selves, letters they would write to themselves if they could go back and have a word with themselves at 16 years old to give them the best chance of having success in their life. So it's super interesting. But Fanny, yeah, I will definitely... publish it as soon as I can. Tony says, I'll ask more empowering questions, but only if you ask Anthony to open a studio in Chicago. I definitely will. Anthony Mindell's got one in... Where's he got them now? He's got them in LA. He's got one in Europe somewhere, hasn't he? And then he's got London. He's got them all over the show, but he's a top guy. I really, really like him. Got a lot of time for him, so I'm definitely going to do a podcast with him next week. I've already done 2 features with him over the years, but I've never met him face-to-face. We've always done them online or over Skype. So we're definitely going to do that, which is cool. But yeah, just, you know in your head right now what you've been afraid of asking. You just know. I don't even need to make you think about it. You all know. Simon says, yes, I'm going to go back and write those great questions to ask yourself you said earlier. Yeah, every morning. Write them on Post-it note size. Stick it on your mirror when you clean your teeth. How can I make a positive impact in the world today? How can I make someone smile today? What's the one thing I can do that's going to make me, take action? What's the one thing I can do that's going to get me closer to accomplishing my current goal and completing my mission right now? Whatever it is, don't ask yourselves those questions in the morning like, what's going to go wrong today? Why is my life so shit? Because like Tony said before, I noticed your comment, Tony, you said your mind is like a Google search. You ask it something and it will go and find everything. If you ask yourself in the morning, what's wrong with me? Shit, man, it's gonna bring back every single thing you perceive as wrong with you. Thus, you're setting yourself up for a really shit day. So you've got to ask empowering questions in the morning. Practice gratitude, as we always say. Be grateful for what you've got. Focus on what you have, not on what you haven't got. Enjoy what you have now, whilst aiming for what you're going to have tomorrow. And remember, tomorrow ain't even given. Like we said, 151,600 people die every day. I'm not saying we're going to be one of them, but one day we're going to be. I don't think I'll ask myself things as much as tell myself what's wrong. Oh right, so you just constantly reinforce what you think is wrong with you, Fanny. It's all up here though. Seriously, the hardest. My mate Nav said the other day, the hardest prison to escape from is the prison of the mind. You've got the key to it though, Fanny. You've got to unlock it and walk out the cell, let yourself out. Do you have a morning question routine for empowering questions, Ross? So on the way to the gym, so I walked out of the gym every morning at 6:45, Monday to Friday, unless I've got something going on in the morning, like a very early recording session for a voiceover or something, in which case I won't be able to get to the gym that day. It's going to happen twice this week, Thursday and Friday. But that's cool. That's all right. I'll make up for it on the weekend. My routine down to the gym in the morning is this very thing, Tony, and it is practicing a few things. I have the world to myself because there's very few people around at this time of year in the morning anyway, because it's pitch black, it's dark, it's cold at that time. Not that many people going to work at 6:45. So, and I walk past a load of fields, so it's very isolated, and it's lovely and calming and serene. And I practice gratitude during that, going, what am I grateful for? And it might be something so basic. I'm so grateful for my coat this morning because it's freezing. I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity to go and work out. I don't have to work out. I get to work out. What a privilege it is to be able to invest in my body and my health. And it's during that I will go over, I do a very quick review of my goals, which I've done a punch list, what I call a punch list the night before, 3 must-do activities for the next day. And I ask myself, what order am I going to do these in, and how is the best way to attack it? So this morning's punch list was 1, booking the studio space for when I do the Act on This TV interviews. I've got one with my mate Rob James Collier from Downton Abbey. He's coming back to do another another interview with us. So I had to book that space. That was 1 email. That's all it was on my 3 things to do today. That was 1. It was a must-do thing. The other one was prepare the slides for tonight's Periscope. I did that this morning about 11 o'clock, got this presentation completed. The other thing was edit the last interview I did last week with an actor called George Bukhari from a BBC One programme called Ordinary Lies, and the A Word as well. And I've got 17 minutes through that today. It's like a 1-hour interview, so it takes quite a long time to edit. But they were my 3 things to attack. And on other days, when I've got more free time, it will be like, right, how can I make a positive impact in a friend's life, or I know that person that I'm not seeing for a while is struggling. I might just send a random text. Do this. This will fill you up, right? I've not written about this. Maybe I should write this. Choose somebody in your phone book every day, and I'll sometimes do this on the way back from the gym. So I have a no headphones policy on the way to the gym, so I'm just in my thoughts, and I listen to podcasts, or I get on the phone on the way back from the gym. Just text somebody who you haven't texted in a while and just say, hey, just checking in with you. Is there anything I can do for you? Let me know how I can help you. And don't do it every day, because you end up with 5 lots of people every week, Monday to Friday, just constantly asking you for help. But every few days, just go, look, what value can I add to people's lives? I just drop them a text and they will love you for it. Makes a massive difference, and that's that's a super feel good thing, and that will answer your question of how can I add value to somebody's life today. Send them a text and ask them. That's not a difficult question like we've spoken about tonight. I missed that comment. I think someone says loves it though, but yeah, do that. It's great, and then people will be like, wow, man, this is awesome. They will do a lot more for you without you having to ask, when you just offer with no expectation help. There's a great guy, David Lawrence, is an American actor who runs something called VO Go, like a voiceover company in the States. He played like a psycho guy in I don't know, it wasn't Humans, what was it called? I can't remember what it was. It was a Heroes, I think it might have been. It was an American drama anyway, like a supernatural kind of drama. Top guy. He noticed I was doing the Bulletproof Actor launch, because we have a mutual friend in the internet marketing industry, and he just sent me an email and jumped on Skype instantly going, let me know, what can I do for you? How can I help you? I'm like, man, you don't even know me, and yet you're just offering me this help. What an awesome bloke. And it's connections like that just last, and I'm like, I will do whatever I can for you, and likewise. Start bringing that into your life. Tony says, do you ever switch up your routine? Not that often, Tony, to be honest. I don't know. I think I'm pretty regimented, and I think that just works for me. I like order and routine because I feel that it's something that I've very specifically kind of formulated, I guess, over the months and the years. And I feel my strongest when kind of like everything in the morning has gone to plan. So for me, it is getting up, getting changed into my gym clothes that I've left out from the night before. I get all that ready. I have a green smoothie now. I don't do porridge anymore. I found out from the Bulletproof Actor nutrition guru we had on last week that ain't great. So I have a green smoothie. I do all the gratitude and I walk to the gym. I work out. I come home. I have a second breakfast. I get showered. And after I'm showered, I get a coffee or a green tea and a protein bar. And I sit at my desk, same time nearly every morning, probably like 10:15 by the latest. And I just feel like, come on, what are we going to do today? So maybe I should mix it up a little bit. But for me, I feel like peak performance when I've done everything that I need to do. And I know I've got no distractions for the rest of the day. Some point, I'm sure I will mix it up. Fanny says, why don't you eat porridge oats? So for the Bulletproof Actors, Simon Hibbs is here. He was on the call last week. So for Bulletproof Actor Group, my coaching program, I do some bonus webinars, and I had a precision nutritionalist, a friend of mine from Florida called Luis Diaz. He's known as the AB guy. And he came on to do a bulletproof breakfast program with us. And ultimately, he gave us all of the science behind what you should eat for breakfast and what you shouldn't. And you shouldn't have carbohydrates before a workout. You should have that afterwards. So it's basically, the rule is you can have protein and fats, protein and carbs, but not carbs and fats. Because your body can only process one. It chooses to process the carbs as energy because it's its favourite energy source. Thus, it stores the fat. Fanny says no loading up. Depends what you're doing. If you're doing a marathon, then I would load up. But if you're not and you just want a good body composition with a low body fat percentage, then you want to be not mixing carbs and fats together in one meal, particularly before exercise. Bring your carbs into your porridge after you've worked out, if that's what you want to eat. But yeah, if you want to find out more, enroll on Bulletproof Actor next time. The course opens again in June, and you get this kind of bulletproof advice from some awesome people. So check it out. Bulletproofactor.com. Right, I'm going to go, guys, because it's that nearly 10 o'clock. We've done quite a long time tonight, haven't we? Is that 21:56? Yeah, wow. Appreciate you staying on this long. If you're watching on the replay, massively appreciate you too. Come and join us live next time. All you need to do is download the Periscope app from periscope.tv and then follow me. It's at ActOnThisTV. I no longer scope from my personal account, okay? I do it all from the official Act on This TV Periscope account. So if you're watching this on Twitter, get the Periscope app and then just follow Act on This, all right? You search for Act on This and you'll find it. And then join us live next time. Oh, my phone's gone off, guys, so I can't see your comments. My battery's just died. Hopefully, I am still scoping, though. Oh, I don't know if it's going to have just turned the broadcast off. Because, I can't believe that. I unplugged it for a second. If you are still watching and you can still hear me, massively appreciate you. Hopefully, you can. And if not, well, you won't even see this anyway, but I will catch up with you guys next time. Going to be here on Wednesday night at 9 p.m. UK time, so be here, all right? Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you soon. Bye for now.